Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Boy, I wish I would have remembered my camera yesterday because I had a full day of neighbors and it was amazing. My neighbor Lee came by, picked me up. We went to Gaston's Resort, which is just below Bull Shoals Dam. And that place is amazing, all along the White River with cabins everywhere and hiking trails. And that was fun. And then my other neighbor Daryl came by and helped me drill holes in the concrete to anchor my garage down so it doesn't blow away with the next heavy wind. Then yesterday evening I went over to my friend Mike's house, got to see his beautiful rolling acreage. We shot crossbows. We shot his wife's AR-22. And we set up targets and we just sat and talked, drank a couple beers. And Mike has a whole fleet of classic muscle cars from the 60s and 70s in various stages of restoration, which was just amazing. He has a couple of 1970 Chevy Chevelles, the Super Sports, and all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm like, boy, it would be nice. I've had my truck since 2014. I'm like, it'd be nice to have one of those at some point in my life. But they're super expensive, the older classic muscle cars. Some of those cars can go for $100,000, which I'd never be able to afford. But what a treat that was. So let's get into today's show. Yesterday we were talking about these Monsanto homes of the future. House of the future. This was featured at Disneyland, and it was built in 1957. Of course, 57 stands for 5G. And we know that Trump is the 5G president based on our research because he passed the 5G, 6G, and beyond during the lockdowns. You'll all remember that. And his family also had a Homes of Tomorrow billboard at the 1939 World's Fair. Here it is. I've shown this image a few times. This is a real image from a real family billboard, the Home of Tomorrow at the 1939 World's Fair. Now, obviously, Trump wasn't born yet, but his father was, and this was the Trump family. Even back then, they were into these homes and also the RX, which is prescription. 1939 World's Fair. And I always wonder if the freedom cities that he's talking about will feature some homes that will look like the Monsanto homes of tomorrow. Now, I believe this image is from one of the Disney films in which they featured these homes of tomorrow. And it's, of course, in comic format here. I want to say one of the Toy Story films, but I could be wrong about that. But as I was investigating this whole Homes of Tomorrow and World of Tomorrow meme, I realized something, that this particular billboard, the Home of Tomorrow, 6,000 people live in Trump homes with the Trilon and Perisphere, that this looked a lot like this billboard, Live in the Home of Tomorrow from Back to the Future. And I've showed you guys this before. I'm just giving you an update on all this because this is going to tie in directly to what we are going to study today. Live in the Home of Tomorrow. The Lion Estates groundbreaking this winter. This is from Back to the Future 2. And the Home of Tomorrow. Live in Trump homes. It's the same billboard essentially, isn't it? Live in the Home of Tomorrow, live in Trump homes. So what is this about? Well, this needle and ball, which is on the Trump billboard here, which is the symbol of the 1939 World's Fair. It's called the Trilon and Perisphere. So, of course, it was featured in the billboard there. It also becomes Asterix and Obelisk from this comic. Now, this is the 37th book in the Asterix series. And this particular book from Asterix and Obelisk featured, well, basically it came out in 2017. Now, this was the second year of Trump's presidency. He was president in 2016. Some will say the first year. But it was long before the coronavirus and the pandemic, of course. So what is an Asterix and what is an obelisk? Well, an obelisk is obviously the pointed needle, and the Asterix is obviously a ball, isn't it? You can draw a circle around an Asterix to make it a ball. So obviously this is what they're getting at with Asterix and Obelisk, these two characters. Now, Asterix actually joins a chariot race in this particular edition, in this 37th book of the Asterix series. And the names of two of the characters in this comic mentions the very disease that Trump would be president over 2 years after this comic came out. Here it is, right here. Now, it doesn't just mention it once. Remember, this had not been named yet. Well, we had coronavirus, but not to the degree that it should appear in a comic. This is a completely random thing, or so they want us to believe. And they repeat it over and over again. These are pages from the comic. The reason why they repeat it over and over again, because the theme of this comic is a chariot race. And these are chariot races from all over the world. People from all over the world, different backgrounds, different cultures, as I'll show you soon. But who wins the race? Coronavirus wins the race. Here's another image here. Everyone's puzzled as to why he would win the race. As he's going through here. Here comes our favorite, straight from Rome, the champion, with MCDLXII victories. The one they call the masked Auriga, the great faithful bacillus. Now here's where the plot thickens, because what you're going to see next is a connection between bacillus and Monsanto. We'll get into that in a minute. But what is the masked Auriga? Well, an Auriga was a slave. So essentially, you have a masked slave and coronavirus. This is exactly what would happen 2 years after this comic came out. A bunch of masked slaves. So there's a chariot race. Coronavirus wins. You have masked slaves, which is us. Then you have bacillus, which is his riding mate. As you can see here, this guy. And at first, I mistakenly thought bacillus was a fungus, but it's actually not. Bacillus is actually a bacteria. So as I'm randomly researching stuff completely unrelated to this, I was looking into Monsanto, as you guys know, the home of tomorrow, and I came across bacillus mentioned in the Monsanto Wikipedia page. Here it is right here. Completely random, but the two became connected. Now, what is bacillus and how does it relate to Monsanto? Well, bacillus is the very foundation of Monsanto's genetically modified seeds. What it says here is that the seeds make a protein from the bacillus, so the crop can make its own pesticide. Let's read this. Monsanto invented and sells genetically modified seeds that make a crystalline insecticidal protein from Bacillus thuringiensis, known as BT. We'll just call it bacillus for short. In 1955, Monsanto's potato plants produced BT toxin or bacillus toxin were approved by the EPA, following approval by the FDA, making it the first pesticide-producing crop to be approved in the United States. Monsanto subsequently developed bacillus maize, which is corn, bacillus soybean, and bacillus cotton. Monsanto produced a seed that has multiple genetic modification, also known as stacked traits. For instance, cotton that makes one or more bacillus proteins and is resistant to glyphosate. You guys, this is the very foundation of their technology, comes from the bacillus. So why did that appear in a comic that's also talking about coronavirus? This is unbelievable. Now, I decided to look into these bacillus, and I couldn't believe what I found. Here they are right here. These are the actual spores. And these things don't even look like they were created by the Most High. They're literally bipyramidal spores. They look like perfectly shaped diamonds with a pyramid above connected to a pyramid below. Bipyramidal. What is this about? Let's read a little bit more about the bacillus that Monsanto uses in their crops to make them insecticidal. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that, right? Unbelievable. Messing with the very foundation of creation. Recreating nature in their image instead of the image of God. Let's read about this. Upon sporulation, bacillus forms crystals of two types of proteinaceous or whatever. Insecticidal delta endotoxins called crystal proteins or cry proteins, which are encoded by cry genes and site proteins. Cryotoxins have specific activities against insect species of the orders moths and butterflies, flies and mosquitoes, beetles, wasps, bees, ants, and sawflies, as well as nematodes. Thus, the bacillus serves as an important reservoir of cryotoxins for production of biological insecticides in insect-resistant genetically modified crops. When insects ingest toxin crystals, their alkaline digestive tracts denature the insoluble crystals, making them soluble and thus amenable to being cut with proteases found in the insect gut, which liberate the toxin from the crystal. So basically, these crystals liberate a toxin. They release a toxin into these animals. Bees? So essentially, Monsanto is creating crops that kill bees. This is unbelievable. Now, to add to the plot, there's actually even a character named Biff. Well, it's Bifidus. Biff for short. Biff is the one who puts the race on. Let's read this. Responding to criticism of the deplorable condition of Roman roads in the region. Well, obviously that's a play on what the Clintons were saying about the people on the right, called us deplorables. Senator Lactus Bifidus proposes a chariot race across the Italic Peninsula to showcase the excellent roads. The race is open to all people of the known world. Julius Caesar endorses the race, but insists that a Roman must win for the sake of unity across the Italic Peninsula. Otherwise, Bifidus will be banished and exiled to now Libya, Cyrenaica, whatever. In Gaul, Asterix and Obelisk are taking geriatrics to a dentist at a market in Dariaridum. So here's the plot. Now, there's a bunch of play on words in here, which is kind of funny. The names of the characters. But if you look here, most of these horses have what originally I thought was an omega symbol, but it's actually C for coronavirus on the side. But it kind of doubles as an omega symbol in some of these images. As you can see here, those do not look like C's. They're kind of like backwards. So those could be omega symbols on the backs of these horses. The alpha and the omega, which is of course Apollo, right? Which is kind of symbolic of the trilon and perisphere. Trilon and perisphere is essentially, when we broke this down, it is an alpha, which is the spear, and the omega, which is the ball. It's the beginning and the end. The two basic symbols of all creation, right? The phallic symbol and the womb symbol. Now, there's even an appearance of the Williams sisters, as you can see here on this page. Now, some of this is in different languages, but I tried to pull up as many of these images as I could. And they admit here that these are symbolic of the Williams sisters. It's not me saying it. It's what the Wikipedia article says. Look at this. There's even some hieroglyphics here. Zoom that up. And just, it keeps saying over and over again, almost as if they were trying to warn us. I don't want to say the word too many times, because who knows if they want to flag this. But look at this. Now, what is happening here? Well, I believe that this is all gaslighting and sorcery. And the different characters in this story represent different people. The golden mask on the slave. This could be like Fauci, couldn't it? And the chariot, of course, is like Apollo's chariot. So this could be with the golden eagle, riding on the golden eagle. So it's Fauci riding on Trump, essentially, is what this says to me. And we're all the masked slaves. All before it ever happened. Let's go back here and read about some of these people involved in the chariot race in this comic. It's kind of funny. Obelisk and Asterix, of course. Trilon and perisphere. The Bretons are Mad Max and Ecotax. Yeah. That's what we're headed for. An Ecotax, right? Then we have the Lusitanians, which is bit of a mess and under duress. Who else is in this race? The Cushites, they call them. Princesses Never Say Never and Queen Latifah, which were like the Williams sisters. Then we have the Romans, coronavirus and bacillus, Julius Caesar. What else do we have here? Redbeard and Lookout, zero gluten, and beta carotene. It's pretty funny. Sarmatians were take a load off, and what a load of. The Greeks, Eudebos, and at a loss. The Normans were skinned a calf and game for a laugh. And then there were the Persians who were unnamed. So here they talk about the caricatures and their references. I'll put links to all this in the pinned comment, of course, like I always do. But wow, right? Now, many of you have already heard about this comic, but you had not heard the bacillus connection yet. Now, let me check in with you guys, and we're going to get into some Hydra stuff that I think adds a little bit to the rest of the story. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Now, many of us suspect that the creature called the Hydra fits into all this somehow. Now, here's the weird thing, and this is hiding in plain sight. No one really talks about what I'm going to tell you next. But basically, this is the microscopic Hydra creature. Cannot be seen with the naked eye. And this particular creature, look how creepy this is essentially indestructible. It has regenerative ability. You can literally cut this thing into pieces and it will grow back. We're actually seeing a creature much like this in the form of these weird worms that are starting to kill all the earthworms. In Arkansas and Texas, they're appearing. You can cut these things into pieces and they grow back like a Hydra. Something is happening, isn't it? Now, we had our sights on the Hydra at least for the last 3 years. In the beginning, people were telling me about the Hydra and I didn't believe it. And then the more and more symbolism we saw, it appears as though this will become a thing. And it's related into everything we just talked about at the beginning of the show. Now, what is so strange about this creature? Well, it's a microscopic creature. You can't see it. In fact, they only were able to see it after microscopes were invented. And in 1758, it was discovered. But here's the problem. Ancient mythology says the same exact thing. A serpentine water monster. When its head was cut off, it would grow back like the microscopic Hydra. Regeneration. For every head chopped off, the Hydra would regrow 2 heads. This is ancient mythology. How did they know? Before there were microscopes. Now, we found many such examples of this. Ancient mythology coming full circle to today. Like the story I told you guys about Syrinx in the field of reeds. Essentially, they were describing syringes, and they actually even named syringes after Syrinx of ancient mythology. But it doesn't stop there, because Syrinx's field of reeds were cut off by Pan to make pipes, which of course deliver a tone, a frequency. So you have this connection between syringes and frequencies, which is exactly what's happening right now. Syringes, injections, and frequencies, 5G frequencies. Now, who was Syrinx, and why was she turned into a field of reeds? Well, she was the nymph of Artemis, who delivers disease and also cures it, just like her twin brother, Apollo. Bringing us full circle back to the Apollo connection to the it virus. But it doesn't stop there, because Artemis had a baldness or alopecia connection in ancient mythology as well, which is all happening right now as well. She was found under a willow tree, which represents the hair, by a brother named Alopecus, which the word alopecia was derived from, which means the loss of hair. So you see, there is nothing new under Apollo and the sun. These things just keep repeating over and over again. So it's not so ridiculous that we're breaking down this comic that seems to have all of the symbology. So, anyway, I'm in the chat now. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the presentation. I'll put links to everything. Good morning. All right. I had an allergy attack yesterday. Mike had some really cool cats. He had one of his cats was like one of my favorite cats. You know, the Siamese markings with the. I just love their like ears and how like their ears are darker and their nose is darker. That's a really cool looking cat. And the cats were so nice. You know, I love friendly cats too. And you know, they hunt all the mice on the property. But a couple of his cats that he used to have got taken out by some wild animals, probably a coyote or bobcats. They get bobcats around there. And so, you know, circle of life, right? All right. Who is the creator of the comic? Let's take a look here. It's a good question. Let's see here. Asterix and Obelisk Chariot Race. I think we can just click on the Asterix series. Oh, written by Jean-Yves Ferry. Oh, boy. Feral fluid. Iron. Huh. Ooh, wow. He's born on 4/20. Which is Hitler's birthday. Wow. Small world, you guys. Thanks for asking that question. All right. All right, you guys. Well, anything else you guys want to talk about before we pop off of here? He wasn't the creator, said West Oz. Okay, let's try again. Strike one. Looks like he maybe just took it over. The Asterix series. Okay. Who's the creator? Publisher? Writer? Okay, so it looks like that guy just came along recently, but there were other people before him. Albert Uderzo and Rene Goscinny. Looks like maybe was the original writer. Let's click on him. He was from 1959 to 1977. Let's read the history here. Do a little live research. History. Goscinny and Uderzo had success with their series Oompa, which was published in Tintin magazine. So Asterix was originally serialized in Pilot magazine, debuting in the first issue on October 29th, 1959. So Goscinny and Uderzo looks like the original two people that came up with this. Let's find them. Here they are. All right. So this guy, Rene Goscinny. Oh, he was born on he died on the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November, 1977. Died at the age of 51. Oh boy, young. He was raised in Buenos Aires. See how he died. Doesn't say how he died. It's a very young age. Death. Oh, here we go. Cardiac arrest on the 5th of November. Wow. Wow, there's his tombstone. If you take a second to look at your screen, you'll see something kind of weird. He was at a routine stress test at the doctor's office. Wow. So that's how he met his end. I guess God won't be mocked. Let's see. Let's check this other guy. Albert Uderzo. He died in 2020. Oh, wonder what he died from. Most of you are probably guessing. I'm guessing too, but I'm not going to say until we get to that. He died at 92 years old, so he did live a long life. I bet you he died of VidCo-19. Let's see what they say here. Oh boy. Death. Oh, he had a heart attack. Oh. His son-in-law, Bernard, said the heart attack was not linked to COVID-19. He felt very tired for several weeks prior to his death. It's weird that they even mention it, right? Wow. All right, let's go back in the chat here. Thanks for that. Thanks for having us dig a little deeper. You guys make this channel. I try to listen to you as much as I can to figure all this out. But sometimes I miss stuff, so thanks for that. All right. All right, you guys, I'll go ahead and let you go. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care and be safe, everybody.